Hi everyone, I'm going to take you through a bit of a preview of two major events going on in the UK this coming weekend, which is the 22nd and 23rd of February, which are the English National Cross Country Championships and the UK Indoor Championships. Unfortunately, it's a clash. It doesn't always happen like that. I think last year they were a week apart, which makes it quite difficult for coaches and supporters who got an interest in both. But anyway, it's the Cross Country Championships at Parliament Hill. I'm going to start off with. Forecast looks at the moment, well, dry in the sky, but not so dry underfoot. I think it's going to be pretty muddy at Parliament Hill. But the temperature picks up at the end of the week, so we might be in double figures and have quite a nice day in London. Anyway, all the start lists are on the English Cross Country website. The first race is at 11 o'clock, senior women's at 1:35, men is at 3 p.m. Results should be on FR Systems, and there is a live stream on the England Athletics Vids YouTube channel, so that should cover most people's requirements on getting quick results and watching a live stream. The main protagonists, just having a look at them, in September we had that rearranged national from last February that had been cancelled due to February, and the top five in the men's were Hugo Milner and Ben Connor, neither of which are entered for this Saturday. And then James Kingston, Will Battersill and Callum Johnson were the next three home, and they are all entered. And on the women's side, Neve Brown from Aldershot won. She's not entered, but all the next four are Holly Dixon, Gemma Steele, Jen Walsh and Emma Gordon. They're all entered. The caveat there is I think Holly Dixon is also entered and accepted the invitation to do the British Indoor Championships on the same weekend, so I presume she's going to do that and not the national. When it comes to the regional championships, just as a reminder, the Southern, the women was top three: Megan Gadsby, Naomi Kingston and Kate Esley Morris. Teams: Thames Hounds, Belgrave and Aldershot. Midland was Olivia Matthias from Newark, Gemma Steele, Rosie Hamilton Jones from Westbury. Top teams: Charnwood, Bristol and Coventry. And in the north it was Lauren Hayes from Hallam, Sophie Tarver from Wirral, Katie Wood from York, with Leeds, Sale and Hallamshire being the top three teams. So if we look at the women's race, we've got, as I've noted some down, Rebecca Murray, possible. Belgrave got quite a splattering of good runners in there, perhaps not their top ones entered like Kate Axford, etc. Neve Briston Hubbard of Blackheath, although I think she turned her ankle over at the back, so may not be running. Amelia Quirk, who's in good form. We've got Holly Dixon, I've just mentioned, who might well be going indoors. Megan Gadsby from Norwich, who won the Southern. Beewood from Salisbury in good form. Lucy Jones from Herne Hill and Poppy Craig McFeely from Herne Hill. That should be quite a good Herne Hill team turning out. Rebecca Weston's on the comeback trail, won the Kent Championships for Invicta. She's aiming at London Marathon. She is entered. That'd be interesting. She runs. Jem Walsh and perhaps Jess Gibbon will be quite high up for Reading. In terms of the teams on the women's side, maybe Leeds, Aldershot, Belgrave, and maybe even Blackheath, because they're quite strong in some depth. If they've got their top two or three available, could do well. So that's the women's side of things. And on the men, very intriguing, some of the entries on the men's side. On the men's side, just as a reminder, on the regionals, we had that runaway win by Elmy from Bournemouth, and in the Southern from James Kingston and Flurry Grierson from Highgate. And then it went Highgate, Hercules Wimbledon and Kent AC with the top three teams. Midlands, all three of those, by the way, those individuals are entered for the national. Kadir Omar and Omar Ahmed are not entered for the national from Birchfield. They were first and second in the Midland, with Lee Grafton from Rugeley, who was third, and he is entered. And it went Newark, Notts and Bristol in that team event. And then in the Northern, it was Angus McMillan from York, Tommy Power and Harry Wakefield from Salford who were the top three, with McMillan and Power entered for the national. And the team went Salford, Leeds and Hallamshire, although so difficult with the regionals to, you really use them as a guide, so a lot of the top runners won't be there. I've listed the men's individuals that could be near the front, although I would expect Elmy from Bournemouth to be one of the favourites, perhaps with Emil Caress from Leeds, who's entered if he turns out, of course, and Mohammed, who's a previous winner at Parliament Hill from Southampton. They're all on the entry list. A few others of interest: Zach Seddon is entered, Jack Miller from Bristol, ever so consistent, Will Battersill, Bristol, they'll be leading the Bristol charge. Jack Gray from Cambridge, Richard Slade from Chiltern, look out for him, he's been in really good form in recent weeks. Adam Hickey is on a bit of a comeback trail as well, previous challenger at the top of the National Cross Country Championships. Angus McMillan I've mentioned, Callum Johnson's won the national before, entered for Gateshead. Jacob Cann, Phil Norman the steeplechaser is also entered. So apart from that lot, plus a few others that I've mentioned, like James Kingston, who won in 2023, I think it could be, if they all turn out, a really competitive race at the front, with perhaps Elmy, Caress and Mohammed being the top three if they rocked up on previous form anyway. And on the team side, Highgate, I think they've got the most entries, with over 60 entries on the men's side, amongst the favourites as well. Got good depth and great team spirit. Shaftesbury, if they turn them all out, they could really challenge strongly. I think they won at the National Cross Country Relays, which was a team of 4. So this is 6 to score, and they can still challenge with 6 to score, but need them all out. Leeds and Bristol, I'm sure, will be strong and challenging for the team title. So that's the National Cross Country Championships. And we go over to the UK Indoor Championships, which frustratingly, the entry list has not been updated for almost 2 weeks on the British Athletics website. So it's difficult to know who for sure has accepted an invite and which event they might be racing in, as you'll hear in a minute. It is on the BBC Red button on Sunday, which is finals day for all the distance events, 800, 1500 and 3000. I assume it's on the British Athletics website, maybe on the iPlayer for Saturday's heats. Fast selection for the Europeans goes, it's the top 2 get automatic selection if they have both the qualifying time required indoors or out. There's 2 times listed, and if they're in the ranking list to a certain level for the European Championships quota per event. Bit complicated, but I'm sure it will all sort itself out. Starting with the 800, Justin Davis ran really well, won the Keighley Classic last week. Big question here is, will Elliot Giles be tempted to go for the 800 rather than the 1500? He's down for both, so we just don't know as at Tuesday today, a few days beforehand. Others in with perhaps mentioned Callum Dodds, who ran a really good 600 metres at the Keighley Classic last weekend. Ben Gardner won the Bucks 800. Got Jack Higgins, last year's winner. Ethan Hussey, Tom Randolph, who was second at the Keighley Classic. And there's even likes of Jake Whiteman could show, plus others that, on their day, Joe Wigfield, even Josh Kerr's entered as a possibility, or he's a possibility of one of the 3 distances he could run, but we don't even know if he'll come back. And from the look of his recent YouTube video, I assume he's having a bit of a recovery time, having had norovirus, which took him out of the Milrose Games, and a little bit of a hip niggle. So by the sounds of it, I'd be surprised if he raced at all at the weekend. Women's 800, Izzy Boffey won the Keeley Classic. Gemma Reekie has gone sub-2, might well be the favourite there. And there's a few others that if they, like Laura Muir, Kerr is eligible to do all three of the distances, and we don't know quite which one. Be surprised if it was the 800 coming straight out and doing an 800, but who knows. You got Abby Ives, Katie Snowden, another one who's down for I think all three, Erin Wallace, and others around the 2-2, 2-3 area. So probably Gemma Reekie the favourite for that event. 1500 on the men. I've mentioned Elliot Giles. He could well do the 1500. Neil Gawley's doing the 1500. Then you've got Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman up in the air a bit, but my guess is neither of them will race. Adam Fogg's done 3:49 for the mile. He could do that, or the 3000. You got Piers Copeland, who's has a phenomenal finish. Never quite sure. He's done a race now, so he could sharpen up and move forward from that. Tyler Billiard, who's done 3:52 for the mile, 3:37 point, I think, just outside the European qualifying time for 1500. And Tom Keane, who's knocking on the door as well. So quite a competitive race there. You've got to say Giles and Gurley are the two standouts there, however it's run. And could be a good race between those two, with others right on their tail. And also fair play to Callum Elson, who has taken a year to come back from terrible Achilles injury, but he's getting amongst it now. He ran 3:57 for the mile at Lee Valley a week or so ago. Didn't quite go quite as well in France a few days later, but yeah, he'll give it a go, certainly will. Then on the women's side, Georgia Bell, who won the Millrose Games mile, seems to be in really good form. Just outside 4 minutes at the Keeley Classic, won the 1500 there. Reve Walcott-Nolan, if she turns up, she fell in a recent race in Europe, but she's a possibility. So is Laura Muir again. Melissa Courtney Bryant could drop down to the 1500, even though she ran so well over 3,000 metres recently. You got Katie Snowden as well in there. So again, so much unknowns. It's difficult to comment. If they all rocked up for the same event, it'd be quite a contest. 3,000, loads in the 3,000. There'd be loads of hoping to do well in the 3,000. The outstanding favourite would probably be George Mills, having run 7:27 this year. Will he do that? Will he do the 1500? Will he bank on getting a selection spot somehow by not running the 3,000? Who knows? James West has run 7:37 in good form. You got the Wheeler brothers, George and Charles, Scott Beattie, Adam Fogg, James Gormley, George Cootie, who ran 7:40 recently. He could have the 1500 as an option. Will Barnicoat, Henry McClucky's run fast this year. Alfie Manthorpe's run well at the British 3,000 metre championships before. So again, pretty open. You've got to say, it depends how it's run, but you've got to say Mills would be the favourite. James West otherwise, with Adam Fogg maybe in there as well. But yeah, fascinating 3,000 metres, probably and possibly one of the highlights of the meeting if enough of them rock up to race. And then finally, the women's 3,000, we've got the likes of Melissa Courtney Bryant, who's top of the rankings with her 8:28 in the States. Ines Fitzgerald, who's run really well this year over 3,000 metres. Hannah Nuttall, who's always a good competitor. And then you've got Carrie Hughes, Kate Axford, hoping to step up just a notch to compete with those others. And then Laura Muir, who I've mentioned a number of times, who's the great unknown, or which event she'll do, if any. So there you go. Wish I could be more certain on predictions, etc. But that's pretty much the UK Indoor Championships on Saturday and Sunday on top of the National Cross Country Championships on Saturday at Parliament Hill. So yeah, plenty to look forward to. In fact, there's too much going on at the same time to be able to follow them both well. But hope you all have a good week.